You are Locked On Braves POSTCAST, part of Locked On Sports Atlanta, your team every day.
And hello and welcome into the Braves POSTCAST, part of Locked On Sports Atlanta. Grant McAuley, Jake Mastroianni with you after a very good day at the ballpark for the Braves. A much-needed victory, some much-needed offense, some much-needed great pitching, just much-needed game all around. We'll leave it at that, but we'll, of course, get into it in greater detail as we go along here on the POSTCAST. Before we get started, I want to remind you to subscribe to Locked On Sports Atlanta right here on YouTube. Hit the bell to be notified every time we drop a new episode. If you're here and you enjoy the Braves hitting 5 two-run homers in the game, go ahead and hit the like button. If you want to do that, you can also leave a comment. We appreciate those. And make sure you subscribe to Locked On Braves wherever you get your podcast. Jake, after a weekend that saw the Braves struggle to score runs, that saw them struggle to play defense, that saw them struggle to pitch at times, this was a little bit more like it, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's that phrase that you've used several times already and that I've seen all over Twitter. It was much needed. I mean, you can't state it any more simply than that. I mean, it was a rough weekend in Toronto. So to come out, put a bunch of runs on the board, do what you're supposed to do against a guy making his debut. Charlie Morton doesn't make it stressful on his end either, and just have a stress-free win. Yeah, I mean, I can't think of anything else better to say than it was much needed.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't an adventure when the ball went in the air unless you were a big fan of home runs, in which case it was a choose your adventure for a handful of Braves hitters in this game. That worked out pretty well. So let's talk about it. Game number 41 of this season. Braves now 26-15, 12 runs on 12 hits, 1 error, 4 men left on base. Rangers came in with an identical record, but they took a walloping in this game. 25-16 now for Texas. They're the first place club in the American League West, so take nothing away from how good they are. So a very good win for the Braves. They were shut out on 10 hits, no errors, 11 men left on base. Charlie Morton, the winner, 5-3. Pitch shutout ball into the 7th inning. Danny Young finished this game up, but we'll talk a little bit about Charlie in a moment and how good he looked in this one. His best start of the season, I believe. Really no question about it. For Cody Bradford, a memorable MLB debut, because I guess when you become a big leaguer, they've all got to be memorable, but probably not the results he was looking for. He drops to 0-1. No save in a game that lasted 2 hours, 31 minutes, crowded 26,791 were on hand to see it. We've got a lot of offense to talk about. We're going to get into that, but it seems like a good place to start is when the rotation is doing what you need it to do, and Charlie Morton delivered on this night. 6 2/3 innings, Jake. No runs, 5 hits, 1 walk, season-high 10 strikeouts. Charlie looked like he was in complete control.
Yeah, we've said it now, last several starts. He seems to be getting better each time he goes out there, and I thought this was another step in the right direction. That curveball was just ridiculous on Monday night. 32 swings against that curveball, 20 swings and misses. Wow. I mean, when you say a pitch is unhittable, I mean, it was pretty much unhittable on Monday night. So just incredible stuff from Charlie Morton, and he has been huge for this rotation. You look at all the losses that the Braves have had, and even, Wright being in and out of the rotation and Max Fried being down and in and out as well. I mean, for Charlie Morton to step up and do what he's done, I mean, I know a lot of people didn't like that the Braves signed him for that much and brought him back, but man, could you imagine what this rotation would be like without him right now? I mean, he has been incredible for this Braves team. And I mentioned he's been getting better each and every start. His whip has just continued to go down every start as well. 1.61 after his first 4 starts. He's down to 1.37 now. The strikeouts are starting to come as well. Yep. It was unusual early in the season, him not piling up those strikeouts and getting the swings and misses. And now we're seeing that as well. So, I mean, it's been huge, like I said, and if he can continue to do this, be that top of the rotation guy with Spencer Strider. I mean, starting pitching wasn't the issue over the weekend. That's not why the Braves lost, in my opinion. But
no, you're right.
Have Charlie Morton do what he's done so far, and again, with Spencer Strider at the top, again, that phrase, much needed.
Yeah, and I don't want to get lost in the weekend, but no, you're absolutely right. Spencer Strider, Bryce Elder, both did their thing. The Braves had a bullpen game that carried a lead into the 9th inning before things went wrong, but you just knew with the different ways that they, being shut out in that first game, not really finding any offense in the second game, finally scoring, but then suffering a blown save in the finale. I mean, it was just a weekend to forget in Toronto, so you really wanted to bounce back in a big-time way, and the Braves did that, both on the mound with Charlie Morton and his season-high 10 strikeouts on this night, and as Jake mentioned, the curveball was dynamic in this game. Danny Young came in after him, 2 1/3 innings, 3 hits, no walks, couple of strikeouts, 39 pitches for him. So when you think about what the bullpen had to go through on Sunday to toss that game, in which it was just pretty much Johnny Allstaff, everybody's got to come out there and try to pitch in. And yeah, it didn't work out, but this really helped kind of reset that bullpen as well, which is a tip of the cap to Danny Young in this one in closing out and finishing out this shutout for Atlanta as well, as they picked up this 12-0 victory. A couple of interesting things about picking up a win in a game like this is you want to end those losing streaks. The Braves have already had a couple of 4-gamers this season, but I tracked this thing all the way back. The last time the Braves lost 5 or more games, Jake, was September of 2017. This is a club that simply does not go on long losing streaks. I think that that's one of the hallmarks of being a winning club, a winning team, a resilient team, and the Braves are all of those things. And this is the kind of performance that they needed to put out there to kind of dispel any long losing streak that might have been starting to creep in, or any of the negativity that might come with that, particularly when you're talking about a team that just lost 2 of its better starting pitchers. It can start to collapse maybe a little bit on you, or the walls can kind of start to close in, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, it's tough. I mean, to not lose, 5, 4, or more than 4 in a row, for that long. I mean, again, it's a testament to this team and the resilience they have. And I think it's a lot to the starting rotation, because to lose 5 in a row, you got to go through a whole rotation where somebody can't get the job done. And that's why it's so huge to have guys like Charlie Morton to come in and stop those losing streaks. Spencer Strider capable of doing it. Obviously, Max Fried when healthy, and Kyle Wright, a 21-game winner last year. I mean, it's, really great. And even, the last 2 years, the Braves got off to those slow starts, but they never had those long losing streaks, and that's what was able to keep them in those seasons and keep them in the fight. So yeah, it's a huge testament to this team that they just refuse to go on, knock on wood, on these long losing streaks. Hopefully they don't have one this year, but yeah, just needed to stop it. And Charlie Morton, veteran, he was able to do so.
Yeah, I mean, you can call him a stopper in that regard. And I mentioned to you, last week when I asked Brian Snitker, I mean, how important is it going to be for Charlie Morton to kind of be that elder statesman that steps in and it helps lead you through what is a tough time? And Snit said it's always important to have a Charlie Morton. And whether you kind of looked at the signing last year and thought, why are they spending this money on him? I just always kind of looked at it like they picked up his option and they gave him another option because they like having him around, because this is still a guy that struck out 200 batters last year. And if Charlie Morton is your 4th starter, you've got a pretty good rotation thing going on. And as it turned out, given that Max Fried's going to be down for a while, we saw that Kyle Wright was transferred to the 60-day IL. They knew he was going to be out for probably 2 months, and now that just confirms it. Now Charlie Morton becomes a bigger character. But Snit said whether it's Charlie or Spencer Strider or Bryce Elder, whoever walks through the door to try to help out this rotation, we just need them to handle their business on that day and not think about the big picture stuff. We're going to figure that out as we go. And we'll, of course, talk about what the Braves are going to figure out as far as Tuesday's starter is concerned. We've also got an awful lot of offense to talk about in this game, but I need to tell you about one of our sponsors, because this episode is brought to you by eBay Motors, who remind you a championship team is about each player being a perfect fit. It's the same with your vehicle. So go look for the parts that fit. Head to eBay Motors and look for the green check. Stay in the game with eBay Guaranteed Fit. ebaymotors.com. Let's ride. eBay Guaranteed Fit, only available to U.S. customers. Eligible items only, and exclusions apply, of course. So as we look at the Braves offense, which is an awful lot to look at, and this was the kind of game that, you kind of expect from this group, because they've certainly got the personnel to do it, but it had been a minute since we saw the Braves really break out the bats in a powerful way like this. 5 home runs in this game, all 2-run blasts. Kevin Pillar got it started. Ronald Acuña Jr., let's see, Orlando Arcia, then Austin Riley, then Marcell Ozuna, off a position player, but it's still a 2-run homer. But Jake, I mean, you looked at this offense, they had to be frustrated by how the weekend played out as well.
Yeah, I feel bad for Cody Bradford making his big league debut. Left-handed pitcher, which the Braves already crushed, and he's going up against the lineup that was just ready to break out after a frustrating weekend in Toronto, and they sure did. 12 hits, 10 extra base hits, that power that you were talking about, 5 home runs, 5 doubles. I mean, this is honestly what we've come to expect from this Braves offense, and just haven't gotten it as consistently over the past week or so. That first game against Boston, maybe they had 9 runs in that one, but just haven't seen it as much lately. So great to see them really break out the bats. Hopefully it will continue. Hopefully they didn't lose them or use them all up in the first game of a series, but really just, good at bats up and down that you got to see on this night from some guys that really need to get going as well. Austin Riley, Matt Olson. The Braves had the 12 top 12 hardest hit balls in this game. 3 of them were by Riley, 2 of them were by Olson. I think that's great sign for both of those two guys.
That's a really good thing to see, and I want to circle back on that. In fact, we'll talk about them, and then I'll get to the home runs, the hit list, the barrage that the Braves put on the Rangers. But you look at it for Matt Olson in this game. I mean, it was important for him, I think, to kind of get himself going as well, because a lot of the focus has been on Austin Riley, and I understand why, because the struggles have been maybe just a little bit more just kind of in your face or more obvious. But, Matt's been struggling with the strikeouts, had one in this game, but overall, 1 for 4. Yeah, that opposite field double. I think that's a good sign to see. Knocked in a run, scored a couple of runs as well. And then, of course, with Austin Riley, you needed to start to see some signs. A home run, Jake, to right center field. All the hard hit balls you mentioned. I feel like he is starting to work his way through in lifting the baseball again. As I went through all the StatCast data to see what exactly is wrong with Austin Riley, what's different about Austin Riley, the launch angle jumps right off the page. The hard hit contact rates, they're a little bit down, but over the 2021, even the 2022 season, it's not remarkably low, but all of this, not being lifted, I think has been the real issue for him. He has not been able to find that launch angle and get the ball in the air, because when he does that and he's driving the ball all over the ballpark with great authority, he's going to start racking up those extra base hits, those home runs, and he's going to start looking a lot more like the Austin Riley we're accustomed to.
Yeah, 4 balls put in play tonight by Austin Riley. The home run was the lowest launch angle that he had of 21 degrees. All of them were higher than that, meaning he was getting under all of those baseballs. And that's really what you want to see from Austin Riley. You want him to play with that power, but he's been driving that ball into the ground. I mentioned, when I did a deep dive of him on the podcast, that he's really struggling with that off-speed pitch and those sinkers down and in. He's rolling over on top of those to the right side for easy ground outs and a lot of double plays. So to see him start to get that launch angle back, again, we're looking for any sort of sign here for Riley and Olson to break out. And I think you've seen little signs of that over the past week or so, but just another good step in the right direction for him on Monday night. You're right. That home run he hit out to right center, I mean, it was an absolute laser, and it just showed the power that he has to be able to do that. A line drive shot that just shoots over the wall in right center field. Just an incredible swing by him. So again, hopefully we're looking for those signs of him breaking out. Hopefully this is an indication of that happening soon.
Yeah, it was a ball that just seemed to keep carrying the further it went out there. I mean, sometimes you get fooled by the camera angle, I think, a little bit in some of these ballparks, particularly if your vantage point is from the broadcast a little bit higher up. But it was a ball that just kept on keeping on. And for Austin Riley, he was able to join that home run parade, which included 2 of those in the second inning as the Braves struck for 4 runs against Cody Bradford. Kevin Pillar, a 2-run shot. He continues to just make contributions to this club. He has been a very nice pickup and a very low-cost add to this team. Ronald Acuña Jr., he's pretty good. He hit his 9th home run of the year. That's got him on pace now for 36 home runs. He's also on pace for 67 stolen bases. So if you're wondering where he's checking in on my 40-40 counter or my 40-40 tracker, that's where he is. He is making up for it with a lot of long home runs in the month of May as well. Ronald has been scalding the ball. He's been lifting it as well, which is great to see. Orlando Arcia, a 2-run homer. We mentioned the Riley homer. Marcell Ozuna added another. I know it was off Sandy Leon, a pitching or a position player pitching, but still to see Marcell continue to, find ways to provide some offense. That's what you need to see. He's got 6 home runs this month, Jake, 8 on the year. All of a sudden, Marcell is looking like, at least if he's going to be out there, he's going to contribute. And I think for a lot of people, that's kind of all you're asking, right?
Yeah, I mean, he is a DH. You want him to at least contribute at the plate. Yeah, you want him to hit. If that's all you're going to do, we want to see you do it well. And he's done that, and he's earned those opportunities. We talked about it before the hot streak. He has to earn this playing time, and I think he's done so with what he's done over the last week or so. The at-bat he had in Toronto on Saturday with everybody struggling at the plate, when he hit that 2-run homer, it was a fantastic at-bat. And again, it just shows signs of Ozuna, having good at-bats, having at-bats that you would want to see out of somebody who is your designated hitter. We just didn't see that early in the season. So good to see him doing that. And again, as long as he continues to stay hot and rack up the home runs, which he can do when he's swinging the bat well, I think he's going to be in that lineup at DH just about every day, even with the other options the Braves have. Rosario's had a good bat. Travis d'Arnaud's obviously back. You want to get him in there, but I think you got to ride the hot bat of Ozuna while it is hot.
Yeah, it certainly makes a lot of sense, and the Braves were kind of looking for some offense, so you can understand why he was in there again today. If he's hitting, 6 home runs already this month, and we're only, the 15th, so who's to say what he's going to do for the next couple of weeks? But, Jake, if you get, half a dozen home runs a month out of Marcell Ozuna. I mean, just doing the math for the rest of the season, that's some 30 homer power that might be hitting somewhere between 6th and 9th in your lineup, and that's not a bad thing to be able to boast if you're the Atlanta Braves. I want to talk about the double play combo. Then we're going to take a look ahead to Game 2 on Tuesday against the Texas Rangers. Ozzie Albies, 2 more doubles in this game. He drove in a run. And then Orlando Arcia, a 2-for-2 night with 2 walks, a 2-run homer, 2 RBI. Deuces were wild, but he did score 3 runs, so he was an overachiever there. But a great night from him, and just more of the same from Ozzie. He's been red hot now for, about 3, going on 4 weeks. And Orlando Arcia coming back in, kind of a surprise return on the recent homestand. But, man, has he injected into the Braves lineup a little bit of help and into the field. I think he has helped stabilize a lot of things. Sunday's game notwithstanding, that really wasn't something that he could do a lot about in the outfield.
Yeah, no, it wasn't a great weekend defensively. Again, we don't need to get into all of that. But yeah, Arcia, he's just been fantastic. I mean, all year long, it was great to see him get back and come back so quickly. I don't think many people thought he'd come back that quickly. And then to do so and to be as good as he has been, both in the field and at the plate, I mean, it's much needed for this Braves lineup. Your 9-hole hitter. And again, we talked about it last year, that 9-hole hitter for the Braves just really did a lot of great work. And again, I've mentioned batting in front of Acuña, I think helps that out. But I mean, he's been fantastic. And then Ozzie Albies racking up the extra base hits, looking like that vintage Ozzie Albies. Yeah, he's not going to get on base a lot, but he's going to rack up the extra base hits and hit with power. And I love that the Braves, are starting him and that moved him up in the 3-hole against lefties, where he has just continued to crush. I think that's a good move, but, just love to see him doing what he's done throughout his career and just rack up those extra base hits, the home runs, the doubles. Really good to see Ozzie swinging the bat well again.
Yeah, just kind of looking at the quarter mark of the season. If you look at how many extra base hits Ozzie Albies has this year, he's pushing just under 80 extra base hits, which would eclipse his 2021 total and his 2019 total when he had, I believe, 75 in 2019, 77 of those in 2021. So this is a guy that when he gets going, you can look at 40 doubles, 30 homers, and a handful of triples as well. It wouldn't be surprising to see Ozzie Albies put those numbers up. But speaking of base hits, everyone in the Atlanta starting lineup picked up at least one of those. A great all-around win for the offense. Now let's take a look at Tuesday. It's Game 2 against the Rangers. It's going to be Jared Schuster coming up from AAA Gwinnett to make the start. His 3rd big league start. He's 0-1. Hasn't been up in the last month after he was optioned down to Gwinnett, where he has pitched pretty well. I believe 5 starts, 3.28 ERA down there, racking up some strikeouts, missing some bats, still some walks here and there. But overall, I think he's started to make some adjustments, which is good. And the Braves will have their hands full. Right-hander Dane Dunning, he's unbeaten with a 1.72 ERA. It'll be interesting to see these two young pitchers go at it. Schuster the lefty, Dunning the righty in Game 2.
Yeah, good to see Schuster get another opportunity. Like you said, he's kind of had his ups and downs at AAA Gwinnett this year, but I think he's starting to figure things out a little bit more, and I think it's time to give him another opportunity. He just can't do these bullpen games anymore. You can't have 2 bullpen games in your rotation. It's just going to wear your bullpen out, and I think it changes the strategy for Brian Snitker in games where the Braves have a chance, not knowing whether or not he's going to have to use a bullpen game in a day or two. So hopefully Schuster, takes advantage of this opportunity, learns from some of the mistakes last time he was up, and can hold on to that spot for a while until Fried and Wright are able to get back. So looking forward to see what he can do. And then Dane Dunning, started off the year in the bullpen, but has moved into the rotation. Last 2 starts have been really good for the Rangers. So good young pitcher. I know he's a top prospect after he was drafted and kind of figuring his way out and finding his role here with the Rangers. So it should be a good matchup.
Yep, definitely should be, as Jared Schuster will come up from AAA Gwinnett, make the start for Atlanta, looking to secure a series victory behind the young lefty, as the Braves would very much like to win this one in Arlington and bring some momentum home from a road trip that did not start out under the best of terms. Schuster will go up against righty Dane Dunning at 8:05 p.m. Eastern Time is the first pitch from Globe Life Field for the Braves and Rangers in Game 2. Once again, this has been the Braves Postcast, part of Locked On Sports Atlanta. We appreciate you riding along with us after each and every one of these games. Make sure you're subscribed here on YouTube. Hit the bell to get notified every time we drop a new episode. While you're here, go ahead and hit that like button. We appreciate that. Leave your comments as well. We like to read through those and discuss the Braves. So if you're interested in doing that, we're interested in having you right here on the Braves Postcast, and also Locked On Braves. Wherever you get your podcast, you can find it there. For Jake Mastroianni, I'm Grant McAuley. Once again, a great night for the Braves in Arlington. 12-0 win over the Rangers. We will catch you after Game 2 on Tuesday. And until then, so long, everyone.